normally would be performing all around the world. Instead, I perform, because of COVID, to whoever happens to tune in on Facebook, on Instagram, on on YouTube, on Twitch, wherever you happen to be watching me. Welcome. Let me just make sure that I'm broadcasting everywhere, and then the show will begin. If you see me, please say hello so that I know that it is working. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Coronacast comedy show. If it is your first time watching, welcome. This is a show tonight where I'm going to do jokes based on audience suggestions. So over the course of the day, I put out the word that I wanted subjects which I would satirize, that I would make hilarious, and I got a great variety of subjects. Coming up on the show today, we have got jokes about introverts, meeting a girlfriend's parents, the president of Tanzania, Bob Ross, Elon Musk, going to a Western country with an African passport, Disenfectant and Trump, pre-made food, and finally, Tom and Jerry. So, that's what we've got coming up. That's the menu today. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. But before I get started, I always begin with an old joke. I haven't realized I didn't even plan the old joke I'm going to do. I've got the one which I'm going to do. This is a joke from What the African Said, which is a special, which if you want to watch the whole routine, you can watch it on my YouTube channel. Why do I do an old joke? I do it to get me in the comedy rhythm, because you've got to understand stand-up comedy is a rhythm. When there's no crowd, it's very hard to get your rhythm going. So I do an old joke just to remind me how it feels. And then we keep going, okay? And also, this is a way of asking, if you are in the chat room, if you find a joke funny, please put LOLs, please comment, because otherwise I seem like a madman. I'm going to do 4 jokes and there'll be an intermission. So if you have any questions or anything you want to ask me or discuss with me, that is the time for it. In fact, you can put them now, and then I'll go through all of the comments when the intermission comes. But without further ado, let's start with an old joke. This is a joke about insecurities, right? People are so insecure about their bodies. It's beautiful women saying stuff in the bedroom like, turn off the lights, don't look at me. And as a man, I'm thinking, I will see you in the morning. But I can't make fun of it, because no wonder people are insecure about their weight. People's media is insane. I don't know how it is from wherever you're watching around the world, but in the UK, there is nudity in the newspapers. Nudity in the newspapers. Only place I've ever lived where you can go from page 1, 500 people died today. You turn the page, I'm Amy from Newcastle. And no wonder people are insecure. All the women in these magazines look the same, right? It's all anorexic looking women, very suspicious looking breasts. Now that's all very well. If you're into that, that's great. But wouldn't it be great if there was a little bit of variety? You pick up Zubo Loaded, you flip it up and you go, oh, I did not expect that today. You turn the page, you're like, whoa! Wouldn't it be brilliant if we had different shapes, different sizes in every magazine, and I think I am the man to change it. I think I could be the Martin Luther King of porn. I have a wet dream, brothers. So that's my silly joke to get started. Before I get to the jokes from suggestions, let me take one look at the people in the chat room. Good. Some of you have tuned in. Lovely to have you here. Excellent. Watching from Namibia, Moses. Good to have you here, Moses. I don't know what the lockdown is like in Namibia. Please feel free to let us know about it, and I'll talk more about what you say in the intermission. My lockdown is very tedious, very boring, but I'm coping. Excellent. What do I think of incels? I do not necessarily take subjects right now. I write them in the day. So if you want to joke about incels, find my post in the morning and put that up. Excellent. I stole that. Nabil is in the house. Excellent. Yes, I stole that joke from Daliso Anim. Excellent. Watch from Guyana. Good to have all of you here. So let's get started with the jokes from audience suggestions. So we're going to start with introverts. Now, if you're not familiar with the term, introverts are people who are shy, people who are quiet and look inwards, right? And what I thought about, one of the most amazing communities I ever have come across is there's a community called the Bruderhof Community. If you're not aware of them, they are a Christian community all around the world, right? And they live by a very specific ethos. So pacifism, so they'll never take part in war. No ownership of any private property, right? So they all share property together, and it's a very admirable way of life. I couldn't do it. I like my stuff too much, right? I like having my own stuff. But either way, I admire them and I admire the ethos they live by. But why they are important in this case is they have a very interesting way of looking at leadership. They mistrust people who are charismatic and loud and the center of attention, who is usually who we end up electing as leaders. In the Bruderhof community, they look for quiet people, introverts, and they look for them to lead us. And I think that's a fascinating thing. I actually think way too often personalities lead us astray when it comes to electing people, right? If somebody is good looking or charismatic or funny, sometimes we're more likely to elect that person than the person who is talking more sense. I actually think I want all the personality out of politics, right? I wish that when we were making our decision of who we want, we didn't even see their faces. We just got a list of statistics. This is what they want to elect. These are their views on one side. These are their views on one side. And we just voted for that, right? Beyond that, when it comes to the actual person leading me, I don't want an interesting leader. I don't want an interesting leader. That's where we go horribly wrong. Trump is very interesting. I want the most boring person in the country to run the country. That's what I want, right? I want someone who, when he's making speeches, is just a list of bureaucracy and rules, and I'm yawning. And in fact, if they ever have a debate, I would want a debate where it's the most boring debate. And in fact, to get our vote, they're trying to outbore us. So one of us is talking about logarithms and the balances which indicate the economic futures. And the other one is like, oh, he's way too interesting. I think actually I need to speak in a monotone as I tell you that the true future is based on a course which does not divert from the direction we are currently on. That's pretty much all I'm saying. I want a boring bureaucrat, not an interesting, charismatic person. Next suggestion. Oh, and that suggestion, by the way, was from @CoolestLegend27. The next suggestion is from @Andre de Gobara Mchwembu. And he wanted a joke about meeting girlfriend's parents. Now, this has been a problem of mine all my life, right? All my life. I think a lot of men have had this scary moment where you meet your girlfriend's parents and it's always hard. Like, I remember when I met a girlfriend's parents and she was white, her parents are white, which often comes together. And one of them was very unhappy that I was black, and that was a little awkward. I had another time where I met a girlfriend's parents and one of them was a little bit tipsy, to say it mildly, which caused other problems. So, on my most recent girlfriend, wow, I was almost relieved, not in an evil way, but I was relieved. Both of her parents have passed away, tragically. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to have to worry about meeting the parents. And then one morning she said, I think you should meet my parents today. And I was like, what, are we going to the cemetery? She said, no. I think we need to call them up. And she pulled out a Ouija board, right? Called up a Ouija board and wanted to have a seance so that I could meet her parents. And I was like, okay. And I don't know if any of you ever used a Ouija board. What you do is you put your hands on a little pointer and it points to yes or no and letters, right? And the spirits are meant to possess the people who are holding it and move the pointer around. Now, I suspected very quickly that her parents weren't actually in the room and she was just moving the pointer herself, because all of the questions which they were asking were things like, why aren't we married yet? Huh? Why don't I take out the trash? Right? So I thought she was controlling it. So I was like, oh, I'm going to put a foil in her little plan. And so I said, well, why don't you give me more blowjobs? And this is the point where I realized she was not faking it, because the lights started blinking, the table started shaking, and I was like, wow, this is definitely her mother. She has the same reaction to blowjobs that you do, right? But at the same time, she's got two parents. I was like, what does her father think? So I said, okay, I get your point of view, but what do you think, sir? My girlfriend's father? Why doesn't she give me more blowjobs? And a pen flew across the wall and started to write as if wielded by an invisible hand. And it said, oh, I got a blowjob once. It was the summer of 1952. And then the pencil fell to the floor and there was a palpable silence in the air. At Andre Mchembo, I hope you enjoyed that. Now, at Raphael Ludovic wanted a joke about the president of Tanzania, who is John Magufuli. Now, he's a very interesting character. He's even got a nickname. People call him the Bulldozer. Now, I love the idea of having little nicknames for presidents as though they were wrestlers. And in fact, as they came into the United Nations, wouldn't it be impressive if there was an announcer who says, okay, entering the chamber now, John Magufuli of Tanzania, the Bulldozer, closely followed by, from the United Kingdom, Boris the Beaver Johnson. And to chair the meeting today, we present Angela Khaleesi Merkel. I seem a little bit sad because one of the jokes I wrote, I actually forgot to do. So it was meant to be. Okay. Coming in. This is take 2. You're seeing deleted scenes. This is why it's hard when you do comedy live. You don't get to practice and get rid of the little kinks. So it actually should have been. And coming in at 200 pounds, Boris the Beaver Johnson. And at 228 euros, Angela Khaleesi Merkel. Now that I actually do it, I don't know if the currency little gag was worth the extra effort. But who knows? I might edit this together, so it's good to have it as an option. Next up, before I move on, I have to say though, John Magufuli, the president of Tanzania, is responsible for positively the best headline of last year, right? This was the headline. Magufuli deploys military amid cashew nut crisis. No wonder Tanzanians are not worried about corona. They had to deal with a cashew nut crisis. I don't know why this didn't get more coverage. They were at war with cashew nuts. The military had to be called. I'm imagining right there the generals discussing this and say, okay, well, we've got a forward advance from the cashew nuts and they've got reinforcements coming on from the side from peanuts, and I think they're going to try to flank us with the Macadamia Legion, but I think if we stay together in a column, we shall triumph. It was actually a story based on economic disaster because he tried to fix the price of cashew nuts instead of leaving it to the buoyancy of the market. But that's far less interesting than how I interpreted it. Next, last joke before the interval. At Alex FM 2004 asked me to do a joke about Bob Ross. Now, Bob Ross is someone who, if you don't know him, he was this person who used to do painting, and you could follow him at home. So he would start with a blank canvas, you'd start with a blank canvas, and he would instruct you in what you should do as you paint, and you'd paint along with him. In fact, he's like the last positive painter standing, who used to teach painting, because Rolf Harris yes, disappointed us all. Horrible human being who was taking advantage of young people. Horrible person. But I'm just saying, we now almost don't trust people who teach us how to paint because Rolf has tainted all of them. But no. Bob Ross is still in our hearts. Now, he had a very interesting history. First of all, in his time, he was watched all over the world. In fact, people still watch his paintings to this day. But painters in his day and age hated him. They used to say things like he's formulaic and thoughtless. He's terrible. He's bad. This is a non-artist teaching other non-artists, which is just another case of haters, right? Don't hate the player, hate the game. He was so popular at one point, Nintendo wanted to make a Bob Ross video game. Now, I don't know what that would have entailed. How do you make a video game out of a painter? But then again, Mario is a plumber, and they made a game. So maybe the game would be Bob Ross running, right, painting like monsters out of existence, jumping into holes to get more paint. I think it would sell. So those are the first 4 jokes of the Coronacast comedy show. Now we're going to have a little interval where I chat to the people in the chat room and have a little drink of water. Okay. If you have any questions or comments, now is the time. Okay, let's see how we're doing. Excellent. Hello, Sandra Romans. Good to have you back. Josh Wellen says, why does the Norwegian Navy has barcodes on their ships? Oh, okay, you're telling jokes. If you want to read his jokes, feel free to find Josh Whelan in my chat. I won't read out jokes which people write because I'm not sure if they're stolen from other comedians or if they're your own jokes, so I won't say them. Okay, excellent. Let's check how we're doing. Oh, I'm glad I'm making you laugh. VU10HM, excellent. And about women's body image, Linda Halverson said, in your prime, the perfect body required cocaine and aerobics. Today, it needs plastic surgery and Photoshop. This is very useful to know because I cannot afford plastic surgery for women who I'm seeing. But you're telling me that if I just get them lots of cocaine and a few aerobics videos, I'll have the perfect body? Thank you for the advice, Linda. Okay. Excellent. Good to have you here. Ilya says, you want me to do jokes about myself? I am a constant joke. It comes up a lot. So if you keep watching, I'm sure by the end of the show, I will have made jokes about myself, Ilyas. Excellent. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Preacher Chaponda is my favorite singer. Nabil, again, is confusing Britain's Got Talent competitors. I'm Daliso Chaponda. Preacher Lawson is another funny human being. Excellent. Good. The network is bad, Christina. I'm so sorry. Is anybody else having a bad network, or is it on Christina's side? Or is the problem with my broadcast? It seems like it's broadcasting fine here. Please, if you're having a problem with the broadcast, let me know so I know if I need to change the settings. If it's just you, Christina, you can come back and watch the full show on YouTube or something like that where you can let it buffer for a while. It's probably because it's streaming that it is difficult. Okay, let's get started with the second half of the show, which has probably my favorite joke. Today is one of the jokes. You'll probably be able to guess which one it is. Okay, so the first joke on the second half is a joke suggestion by at Callum_Obar wanted a joke about Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk is a legit genius, right? He's a genius. And you know when you read about a genius, it makes you realize how dumb you are, right? He taught himself computing at the age of 9. At the age of 9. You know what I taught myself at the age of 9? Was how to turn a pen into a spitball dart. You know, you pull out the filling, You roll up a piece of paper, you chew it, and then you put it in there, and then you point it at one of your friends and go, phew. That was the pinnacle of my 9-year-old self-instruction. This maniac has taught himself computer programming, right? Also, by the age of 11, he had read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica, right? By the age of 10. Now, age of 10, I read my first Penthouse letter, right? And I'm quite proud of that, because most kids, they start reading like Penthouse letters and Playboy when they're around 12. I thought I was like, I was ahead of my time. I thought I was a genius, well developed. I hate reading about geniuses. Some people are inspired. I'm just like, I like to believe that if you work hard, you can do anything. But then you read about these maniacs and you're like, no, it's not just working hard. Some people just are born with a lightning bolt in their brain. So that was my little discussion of at Elon Musk. Next suggestion was from at Laban Wesley, who asked me to do a joke about going to Western countries with an African passport. Now, Wesley, I don't know if you've had to do this, but I've had to do this many a time. Oh, and it's a very difficult thing to do. Oh my gosh. Going into to Western countries with an African passport, especially a Malawian passport, which is one of the most worthless passports in the world. We need visas everywhere, right? You honestly feel like you're a kid trying to sneak into your parents' house late at night after you've been out too late. I mean, you're that nervous when you're going into a Western country with a Malawi passport. I remember like coming into the UK every time I came, even if I had a visa, I'd be like, they're going to send me away. I've been deported from 2 countries. I've had so many problems. It's out of control. I even once had a immigration officer pick up my passport between 2 fingers like this, as though it was some disgusting thing. He was like, what's this? This is what you call a passport? It's like, what is Malawi? I've on several occasions I've had immigration officers not know where Malawi is. Now, you're in immigration, right? Shouldn't you be able to read a map? I didn't say that because, I didn't want a close inspection. But it is a struggle having an African passport. If you are in the chat room at Laban Wesley, tell us where your passport is from, so I know where your struggle has been. The next joke was requested by 3 different people. One of them was at John Pearson, one of them at Matteo Crota. Lots of people have requested Trump and Disenfectant. Now, if you are not aware of the story, it's absurd in itself, right? So in a briefing to the press yesterday, Donald Trump started to go on about how disinfectant destroys the coronavirus, so maybe we could inject people with coronavirus, and also bright lights and heat can destroy the coronavirus, so maybe there's a way to send bright light and heat into a human being and burn the coronavirus away. It was like the plot of a sci-fi movie or something like that. But I'll tell you what's interesting. I've done so many Trump jokes. I was like, you know what? I don't want to keep giving like a single view of Donald Trump. Let me see how this story was reported from a few different American journalists, right? And so I went to Fox News, which is the Republican sort of pro-right network. And they didn't even have any footage of him saying it. They mentioned it in passing and they ignored it, right? And then I went to the left leaning, and it was like they zoomed in, they did a live action replay, they almost like had a DJ just scratching every time Trump says it, the disinfectant, right? They made such a big deal about it, and then the people on the right, they totally ignored it. And the more I watched these 2 networks, the more I realized that America's a very weird place, which is so polar in how it presents Trump that it's almost like they're reporting on 2 different people. Because I watched around 20 minutes of Fox News footage, and I was like, you know what? Trump is not so bad. He's charming, he's in control, he's funny, right? And then I switched and I watched a bit of MSNBC and I was like, this man is an overgrown baby. He's practically dribbling at the mouth. And it's so crazy how either side doesn't show. So CNN will never show anything positive that Trump does, and Fox will never show anything stupid he says. And so it's very easy to make the conclusion that this is all media bias. But I have a different theory. Maybe Trump has some kind of personality disorder which we don't even know, like multiple personalities, and it's triggered by who he's looking at. So if he's looking at somebody who is a conservative, right, he's charming, he's in control, he's eloquent, right? When he does something buffoonery, it's lovable. And then he sees somebody who is left-wing, and it just triggers in his mind. He's just like, blah, 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 what a big-ass ball. I want to grab some pussy. And it just, he might not be in control of this, people. So that's what I've got to say about that at John Pearson. And please don't inject disinfectant into yourselves. And at Matteo Crota asked me to do a joke about pre-made food, right? Now, I'll tell you the interesting thing. So, my family all knows that I'm like, a bachelor living alone. So sometimes they decide to help me, right? And there was a time when one of my brother's wives, right? Not that he has many wives. One of my many brothers' wife, right? Not that my many brothers share a wife. How do you say one of my brother's wives? My sister-in-law. That's the way to do it. One of my sisters-in-law gave me some food in a Tupperware, right? So she made some food in a Tupperware, gave it to me to help me, right? Pre-made food that I could heat up. And I gotta tell you, the food was terrible. I did not like the food. I didn't want, but then the problem is I'm too polite to say no. So every time she saw me, she'd give me another Tupperware of doom. And I'd have to be like, oh no, I'm gonna have to eat the Tupperware of doom because I don't want to waste food. I have so many things in this flat that I've accepted out of politeness because I can't tell people that, hey, I don't want that thing. And at the same time, I also don't want to waste things. Let me show you some of the things which I have in my flat, okay? I have a panda. Why do I have a panda? I was given a panda. I have a panda. There are no kids in this flat. Why do I have a panda? Hope you enjoy that at Matteo Crota. And the final joke of the day was a suggestion by @Christina Mukunganya, who wanted a joke about Tom and Jerry. Now, Tom and Jerry are an extremely popular cartoon. They're so popular. Oh, sorry, before I do the last joke, let me take a final look at the comments, because once the joke is over, I'll probably go. Also, I'll take this moment to say, if you enjoyed the joke, you want to support the show, there's a little link downstairs where you can support me financially. You can join the Patreon, or you can just go to africancomedian.com and join the mailing list. Okay, let's take a last look at the people in the chat room. Hello. Oh, you enjoy listening to my shows, Zellies? Well, it's good to have you here, and I'm glad that I helped chase the stress away. And I'm glad you're watching from Malawi, where things are sometimes somewhat stressful. Okay, excellent. Good to have you here. I will not instruct you on painting live Infer because I am so bad at painting. Yes, Feifei, the Tupperware of Doom. Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lucas Denise. Glad you are enjoying the show. How do I say your name? Denseye? Lucas Denseye. Either way, thank you so much. Hello, Simon De Cruz in Malaysia. Hello, everybody. Let me do the final show, and then I will leave you to however you are going to entertain yourself for the rest of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, last joke of the day, Tom and Jerry, suggested by Christina. So, Tom and Jerry, very popular cartoon, right? One of the most popular cartoons, has been being watched for decades, right? Why is it so popular? If you're not aware, it's a cartoon which follows the struggles of a cat trying to catch a mouse. or the struggles of a mouse trying to avoid capture from a cat, right? And it's so funny. It's so beloved. People even watch it as adults. That I start to think that we watch it not just because it's a funny cartoon, but because it is a metaphor for our existence. There are deeper levels. If you are watching Jerry heroically avoiding Tom, whoever you are, you see it. For example, when I watch Tom and Jerry, I see Jerry as black people. And I see Tom as white policemen. Right? No matter who you are, you can find yourself in Tom and Jerry. Let's say Usain Bolt is watching. He probably sees himself in Jerry. And he sees every action a runner trying to catch him in Tom. But it also works the other way. Let's say you are someone who sees yourself more as a Tom than a Jerry. You are also represented. Maybe Jerry represents relevancy and Tom represents our never-ending search for it. Or maybe Jerry represents youth and Tom represents our failed attempts to capture the innocence